All right, so thanks for everybody for showing up. This is going to be a presentation and a talk with BenB, the creator of OSINTukraine.com. OSINTukraine.com is a huge data aggregator of all the events going down in Ukraine and all the Russian involvement. And he has a unique platform where he actually translates all the Russian information out there and Ukrainian information all in one easy platform that you can access at OSINTukraine.com. I encourage everybody who's in the chat right now to actually go to the website and play around with it. And if BenB, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you have the floor.
Yeah, hello everybody. Thanks for joining. Well, okay, short introduction. I'm living in Belgium, from Portuguese origin. I'm a long-time supporter of Ukraine. Have been, involved into kind of helping some Ukrainian NGOs with communications here in Belgium since a few years. And so when the war started, I kind of had in place already, quite a bunch of tools monitoring Ukrainian media, and I wanted to bring my skills on the table because I was really afraid. Okay, this is going to be like in 2014 or in between, and there won't be enough Ukrainian voice, or it would be super hard to understand exactly what's happening. Coming from Russian telegrams or Ukrainian telegram, and I was like, we have to find a solution to make this accessible. Yeah, so that's really how I kind of got it started, and then it's a crazy ride because all of this is a bit improvised on knowledge I have, but a lot of things I had no experience with and no idea if it was even possible. And so the whole OSINTukraine.com is a bit of like an evolving idea, which was originally, which was, okay, let's make the content of the war accessible outside of Telegram. And so this whole thing started, and then each time I would find an obstacle or I couldn't get the videos to display properly, then I would go around and try to find ways to still have the video home, and the translated message, and so on.
Great. Awesome. So what we're actually going to be doing is I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand it over to Ben, and he's going to walk you through the OSINT Ukraine website. But also, everybody in the chat right now, I'm going to have a challenge for everybody. Earlier today, on the 28th, a message was posted on the OSINT Ukraine website from a Telegram channel. And I'm going to post that Telegram link here in the chat. And while you're listening to the talk over here with BenB going over the website, I encourage you to try to geolocate this video that I just posted in the chat. And the first person to geolocate this area, I'll be giving away a free a free paid membership to the Over Operator channel and for the threat intelligence. So while you're listening, I would test your skills over here in OSINT and try and locate it. So let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I'll hand it over to you, Ben.
All right. So I was thinking doing a small tour of the website and the different ways it's being used. But first, I want to show a little bit of the backend and how this data is coming, on different platforms, on Twitter, on different iterations on the web. Okay, so the data is coming here in Russian. So this is being updated. There is three baskets of three collections, let's say, and each of them has 30 Telegram channels. Okay, so here you have 90 Telegram channels being aggregated, and all of this data is then it needs to go to translation, right? Because all of this, before building this website, I was using already these tools. So I would just push this button, and I would have my own, embedded translation right here. But then I was like, okay, but how do I publish this? How do I make this available outside? And so this is where comes this platform, let's say, because what you see seems to be, typical websites, very simple, and it's nothing special what's here. This is really the prototype of this idea. But the platform behind this has really lots of potential, not just to collaborate with creating teams, for example, that would work on disinformation, or creating teams that would work together with geolocation. All of this is possible because there is this unified user management interface, and you can manage who has access to which application and so on. So it's a really good tool for collaboration. And I had this ready before the 24th. So this is why when we started, I wasn't doing research on what would be the best tool to put in place and to deploy almost on demand the kind of tools I knew already that I was going to need in the long run. And one of them, and one of the main basic building blocks of this whole idea is called NI10, which is an automation tool that simply talks with different APIs. And you can, as you see on the screen, don't pay attention to the left part or the below part, just the one with the gray connected. This here is basically, let me show the actual workflow without all this mess. But what you see here is really a translation and publication workflow. So this part here at the top. And as you can see, if I take this, just to clear a bit the clutter, so you can focus on the part at the top. So what you see is really the information coming from here. In this case, we are in Ukraine, so it's going to be this one. This one. Okay, so it's the information coming from here. And then each time there is a new post, it's going to be piped into this workflow. And the first step is going to be translation. Then it's going to go to a searchable database. It's going to go published to a website, where then it's going to be the source of my tweets, Amplify Ukraine Twitter account. And here it's going to go to Telegram. And why am I, getting data from Telegram and then sending it back? It's because at this point, I have part of my idea, realized, but I need still to download the video, right? So I'm basically sending translations back to Telegram. And then when that's done, let me go back to the workflow. So here you can really see the data on the left. You can see the kind of data that I'm getting, which is basically a structure of a post. And on the left here, sorry, let's go a bit further here. On the left, you're going to see the translation. So if you look at the the translation field here, well, in this case here it's a video, so I don't have I don't have an example to show. And this is the data going to each node, and is going to simply execute what I'm telling it to do, which is using the data, the structure of the data, to publish it back to Telegram. When I'm at this stage, if I go to the result, this is the result, right? So I'm getting this data, which each time I have my translation, a link to the post, and if it's a video or if it's a multimedia post, then you can see the content directly here on Telegram with the built-in translation. This was really, I know that Telegram has built-in translation, but I was a bit tired of manually translating each post. I wanted to have the post already translated so that I could do other things with them. And so other things means that we just have to finish this workflow, which at the end of this, I have the data back into Telegram, and then I want to retrieve it. right? So I'm gonna, where is my, oh, very funny. Okay, I don't know why my, there you go. So this is what you see server side, and each of those columns is basically one.
I think you're, sorry to interrupt you, Ben. I think the web page isn't on the stream.
Oh, really? Really bad. Wait. So I'm just sharing. Oh, I'm just sharing a window. Sorry, guys. I'm speaking since.
It's okay. I do have a question. You're getting data from a bunch of different sources, right? How did you determine which areas or which Telegram channels to focus on to pull this data from? I know there's so many Telegram channels and so many things going on. How did you narrow down it and kind of choose the ones that you did?
Yeah, so that's the the most important question maybe, because the selection of sources. Okay, now you should see what I was just speaking about, which is the inside of the server. But then let me go back to here, because I think you missed part of the explanation with N8N. So how do I select the sources? That's a huge thing, because oh great, seriously, they are DDoSing me right now. Really, guys?
Is that a pretty common occurrence? Obviously,
no, that's not supposed to happen. I'm trying to see what's happening server side, but at least okay, it's back. I don't know. Maybe someone's trying, but yeah, something is definitely not normal. Okay, no problem. I can see the source differently, and I can show you the document that I use to select the source. So initially, I started my work by, simply exploring the Russian ecosystem, and basically, each time I would find a new channel, I would try to investigate if the channel was, some kind of Russian personality, it was close to some, state company or to state media, or it was just a supposedly, I don't know, influencer, citizen, but without some kind of, official representation. Or so basically I was all the time collecting those channels and then putting them, all the Z ones at least, all those ones in very separate folders. And so over time I kind of had three different segments. I had like official channels that would relay the official state media narrative, the special operation, all kinds of language and wording and usage of different sources and different narratives that I would always recognize. Do you guys see my video?
Yep.
Okay. So after a while, this process started to become almost impossible to it's quite complex. To me, like, I don't speak Russian, I don't speak Ukrainian, so I was like, I need a methodology. And this is when I found these guys, which is Matt. Sorry. So these guys are working on aggregating social media, not just Telegram, also Gab, also Parler, and other far right places. And these guys, they were mapping Telegram well before the war started. There is here contributions from Bellingcat, there is contribution from other groups doing research. And so they started to map the language of the channel, the political bias, if it was, for or against the pro-Ukrainians, pro-Russian, anonymous, all kinds. If you look at the category, there is really all kinds of different sources. Some of the channels are news aggregators, so they are, aggregating other sources, and some are really creating, original content. So I went down this list a bit easier, knowing, okay, this is what I'm doing. and I'm going to select the channels to try to have a broader view, or a view that represents, at least in some way, what's happening on the Russian information space, and then doing the same for the Ukrainian side. So of course this selection of sources is purely subjective, because there is one person, in this case me, exploring telegrams, and then, oh, this channel has lots of videos, so for one reason or another I'm going to select it to go into the aggregation, just because I noticed that, for example, they are publishing videos that others don't. They are doing very few forwards of existing content from other channels. Some are really far-right Nazi mercenaries, Wagner Group, whatever affiliated channels, and you can really see a difference of tone between those channels and channels that are more mainstream. Sometimes followed by hundreds and thousands of people. And so to me, the selection was, okay, what's the quality of the content? How much people are following the channel? So how important this channel is for the ecosystem, and how rare the information is. And always considering that I was doing this on public channels, right? So I'm just scrapping the public surface of Telegram. A deeper OSINT work could be done with different tools, so that we could forward content from private Telegram to the public and then to the open web. That's something I'm working on, but it's not fully ready yet. But that's going to be a possibility in the coming months. Sources is a whole question, because what you select at the beginning of the automation pipeline is then going to be reflected on everything else. On all the tools that are going to display this content, this selection is going to be visible. It's going to influence the overall collection. So I'm always trying to find the best sources, remove sources that are not relevant anymore, or try to follow where the shelling and the war is exactly happening, and then trying to find, and for this Twitter has been an amazing help. Some people really tracking where the shelling are happening, and then are those governors, mayors, oblasts, whatever, do they have a local Telegram channel? And if yes, trying to get those and putting them into the collection live, because the situation is changing. So I'm, for example, removing a channel close to Kiev, for example, and putting one near Donetsk, or other, So it's been a bit crazy, because sometimes I don't keep track of what I added, what I removed. I know where all the information is and where my current aggregation is, but in the last 6 months, I've done so many choices, so many decisions in terms of editorial content, that it's actually the part of this work that is the most uncomfortable to me, because I'm making a lot of selection that influence the overall quality of the whole thing. So I'm really open to suggestions, and if you notice, I should be aggregating a channel that has great information I'm not doing. Please share this channel with me. Do you guys still see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Do I go back into the workflow and showing the translation process, or that's gone?
Oh yeah, go ahead and pick that back up. I was very interested in the translation process.
Okay, so what you see here, let me pick up clean. Let me pick up one of the Russian ones, for example.
Yep, and while he's choosing which channel, it looks like we might have found the location for the geolocated photo. Let's see, Slow T. One moment. Slow T looks like he compared the photo, the GPS coordinates on the Russian's phone to the coordinates he put in the chat there. Let's go ahead and you guys should all confirm to see what you guys think is the correct location on that. Quiet Pills Research says he concurs. It's been decided. We'll go ahead and talk amongst each other, and then we'll talk about this after BenB gets done explaining the translation process.
Okay. So you remember I was showing, for example, this is Russian side here. So this is the data I'm getting. This is the machine version of all this crazy data. Okay, so you have plenty of Russian and content here, videos and links and stuff. And so I'm getting this and piping this into here. So if I do a manual run, so I don't create duplicates, so you can just see the process and you can see how this tool is absolutely amazing. So here you see I'm getting Russian content, okay? Now we're going to pipe it to translation. So it's going to translate the 20 last items. And then from there, I'm going to send those items to different places. And then I have other workflows like this that send this same information translated to Discord channels. So in this case, it is WordPress, Telegram, and the Russian database. So what you see here on the screen is a live database that is the exact same content that you can see on the entire Russian side. And this database is being updated live. And each of the rows can be open, expanded. You can see the original, the translation. You can do search, full search here. The only thing you don't have for now is the one-click button to play the video or to see the image. This is coming, but for now it's not yet available. But this is mostly like if I have to search something, if someone asks me, can you find Telegram chatter about whatever city, or if someone mentioned a specific name or a specific unit or a battalion, whatever, where I'm going to go is on the database because it's the easiest place to search, and right now there is 289,000 Telegram messages that are just there, and this is not the full complete archive. If you want the oldest archive and go back to early March, then you have to go to the Russian website. Let's say that's where I'm kind of archiving all this content, which is always hard to pronounce, but basically it's ruprop.live, russianpropaganda.live, and I'm having problems with my website. I suspect some people are trying to bothering me because I'm announcing this event publicly, and it's a very clever move to attack me right now. This server is constantly being bombed, and all kinds of shit are happening around because I guess some people are not liking what's happening here. Anyway, it's not a problem. Translation is this process. All of this is possible because people kind of liked this whole idea and said, okay, this is a public service, we're going to offer you a pro account, and this is how I got this amount of, because the value of this is almost 2k to maybe 3k of translations credit per month since the beginning of the war. And so this is ongoing since 6 months, really thanks to them, because it's still the best translation we can have, and Google, I tried a lot of using Google for that, but the result wasn't as good. So this is just one of the automation that is basically powering this whole idea. If you want to go, for those that are following the hate scrapper, which is just another solution, I was looking. This is the kind of thing that I can do with this data and all the tools. Is that I was noticing that people on Twitter were manually hunting for hate posts about Ukrainians and so on. And so I said, well, why not just search Twitter for this data, right? And then store it in a database. And so, for example, you look at this, and it's going to search a bunch of, this one is the global Vatnik base. So actually, this one is not hate content, it's more Russians complaining that whatever is Russophobic or this or that. And so it's scrapping Twitter it's written 10 minutes here, but actually it's every hour. And then it's going to store this data here. If we go to the same base, this is what you see Okay, so you have a bunch of color codes. Each color is a different word that they use. And this here is not necessarily hate, is not necessarily disinformation, but it has a high potential of being tweeted by people that are complaining or that are sharing Russian content or simply amplifying the noise from Telegram into Twitter. And so this is going to land here. We also have stand with Putin, stand with Russia. I'm also tracking of what people say about HIMARS. All of this is public. Like none of this is data. All of this is already on Twitter, let's say. And the different language that you see here on the left, this is the hate tracker. This is people mentioning and using the word Ukraine-Nazi and so on. And so this tool is just a side project, let's say, of the original, archiving and stuff from Telegram. And this one is more focused on disinformation and trying to report some of the hate that is swarming on Twitter.
Awesome. I do have a question for you. So you've probably been looking at data for months and months now. How has that been an effect on you? Do you fall asleep and just think of numbers and like the website? I can see that this could consume somebody getting involved in this and really taking it under their wing.
Yeah, well, I had to learn to balance my I think the first 4-6 months before getting this stable and running, and now I'm just watching this and doing some maintenance and making sure everything is running smooth. But the first few months it was a bit like, I don't know. Sometimes I have like a loss of memory of everything that happened because it was so intense and concentrated, and then I was spending a lot of time watching videos and watching the reality of the war, and then this was highly impacting me, and then I couldn't work in the next day because I was too much destroyed of all the shit I was seeing. But then if I wasn't seeing, I had the impression that I was kind of, I don't know, trying to avoid the war while I was working on the war. So I mean it created lots of questions and how to deal with this, how to work for 6 months. At some point it was like 10 to 12 hours per day just to move this further and further until reaching the stable status. And yeah, at some point, I think I kind of lost myself into this. I had to protect myself at some point and stop looking at war videos and try to focus on the idea, which was also very strange because I was focusing on the idea, I was focusing on creating almost a product, let's say, but there was a war going on. So it was, sometimes I felt, disconnected from the ongoing reality of the war and me just trying to do something that was useful. So it raises lots of questions, to work with live data, with something that is happening in real time right now, and that you're translating also a few minutes it's happening, and and tracking all of this. So it's been crazy ride. It's really been a crazy ride. And I had to learn to really keep my sleeping time, to really discipline myself almost, to be able to wake up in the next morning, have a coffee, watch some stupid, crazy videos to change my mood, and then get back to work. So it's been a bit like this since 6 months, and the only things that make me completely forget about almost all of this is, I don't know, some stupid videos from Friends or from the Big Bang Theory or whatever stupid show I'm gonna watch, and then just flush everything out, and then the next day back to work. It's been like that.
Well, we have a lot of people here watching this presentation, and as well as the community and Overt Operator Discord channel. A lot of hobbyist OSINT practitioners, a lot of hobbyist people who like to geolocate, cybersecurity professionals, coding, developers, engineers. We just about have everybody in the Overt Operator Discord. how can the community, everyone in this chat, as well as anybody, you know, on the internet, can get involved and try to assist you and help you out? Could they try to geolocate and, you know, plot some of these videos being like located, maybe the misinformation investigations, maybe you need some developers to help you work on the back end? Really, like, how can everybody get involved, and do you have like an email that they can contact to really volunteer and put their knowledge out there and really do some OSINT for good?
Yeah, so the project is really open to welcoming new backend full stack developers, Python, JavaScript, or even if you know enough about APIs and you're used to work with different APIs from different services and building on top with, you know, low code to no code solutions, then that's also really appreciated, because you know, a lot of the work is being done with no code tools. Then if you are interested on you know, tagging and labeling and geolocating and basically enriching a database, for example, those databases here, we're looking for, and there is already a group that is going to work on this. You don't see it because of the hidden fields, but there is going to be a team field here. So basically, this data, each of those rows can be tagged, people can work on them, can enrich them. So we could have a geolocated field here. We could have a status field where if a team is already working on geolocating this data point, then another team could do another video, right? And so I'm noticing that in different geo groups that one of the needs is knowing what others are doing, so that you don't repeat the same work, and you know, you're just not reinventing the wheel or basically losing time doing something that another group already did. You know, so I think that's something really missing. But for that, you need someone that is comfortable with geolocation and all the different guys doing the geolocation and noticing when they geolocate stuff and then coming to a central database to update the field and say, okay, this video is already geolocated. So this, for example, this role of a kind of an orchestrator, you know, coordinator of what's already been geolocated is something that can be done, but need to be done with, you know, with close contact with the community, with the people that are working on those aspects. So those tools are ready for all these kinds of collaboration, for, you know, welcoming people so that they have their own login and they can access one of those databases, work on them, enrich them. So that's a huge part of the help that people can do, and you don't need to be a developer. You don't need to. I mean, this is no different than an Excel sheet. So if you know how to manipulate an Excel sheet, you can contribute. So that's something I really want to have. You know, people motivated to. Not, you know, I'm not going to be the one that say, oh, you have to do this or that. This is not the kind of project I'm running. This is much more collaborative than, you know, than you know, a top-down approach. This is more, you want to contribute, you have value to bring. Show me, you know, show other people that what you're doing is going to bring value to the whole project, and you're welcome to even lead a specific direction of the project or bring a new idea with the same tools. I don't know. So that's something really important. And the other part that anyone can do is also, oh, I found this Telegram channel. Maybe you don't have it. Maybe you have it, you know, but let's check. And if the source is good, then we can integrate the source in the overall collection. So source suggestion, database enrichment, and then this is without coding. And then if you are a coder, if you are a developer, then we want to bring the existing code that we have, and we want to bring a version 2 of basically what you see here on the screen, which this is Telegram posts. Each of those pages have 500 posts from Telegram, from Russian Telegram channels. You have the videos, you can see the stuff directly, you can download the video, but this is really ugly. There is no research, there is no filter, this is really a basic prototype. So it works, but now we want to make it unified so that you can basically switch from Ukraine to Russia, and you would switch completely the interface and the content, obviously, and obviously have research and filter and tagging, and whatever we do on the backend database then should be also displayed here on the public facing web page. So if one of those videos have been, for example, verified, then a new verified label should appear on the post. So this is the end result that we want to reach in a future version 2 or version 3, but that depends if we can gather the contribution, the volunteers to bring the existing code to something else.
Awesome. And Ben, how can they get in contact with you? Where should they email or reach out to get involved?
So the simplest thing, if you want to get in touch, is http osintukraine.com/register, or simply the email join@osintukraine.com. I'm putting the links here in the chat. There we go. osintukraine.com. That's it. And there you have a contact page on the site if you want to get in touch, or you can also contact me on Twitter. BenB views if you search on Twitter. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have questions, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah. And I highly encourage, even if you're a hobbyist or you're new to OSINT or you're new to a lot of this stuff, I highly encourage to get involved and really learn as you go. We have a lot of great people in the Discord that if you're stuck on something or you're having problems, to always reach out to anybody. We're here to help. And also, we've had some couple questions in the Discord, like, where can I volunteer? Where could I do this? And a lot of people volunteer at like Trace Labs or volunteer at the National Traffic Task Force. But really, volunteering is the key to breaking into the OSINT realm. So if you could have this on your resume and say, I assisted OSINTUkraine.com, and they have a great portfolio, and OSINT Ukraine is awesome. It's really what you've done, Ben, is almost incredible, and it's all been by yourself. People like multi-million-dollar companies, like for example, the threat intelligence platform SiloBreaker. It's very similar. They're a dagger aggregator, and they have a full team behind them working on it. And it's only been yourself, and I think that's very impressive.
Some really good help from Andy, a Polish developer that Dockerized a bunch of the code and did some of the essential work so that we could make tgarchive, which is the code we are using from GitHub, tgarchive incremental, because in our experience at least we were not getting the incremental downloading and syncing correctly put in place. And so that's what Andy contributed, which allowed to basically display those sites that you see on screen, which basically you have one Ukraine, one Russia, and then you have the video filter, basically a filter of only video posts from those two main big channels. So what we do is really trying to give to some people that are only working with videos a place where they can go, and each time they're going to scroll, it's going to be a video, right? No text, well, almost no text. As you can see, it's always a video, always a video. So that's the kind of sub tool, let's say, that I'm trying to provide for people that are only working on this, and they cannot see, they don't want to see 1,000 or 2,000 posts per day translated with lots of text, and sometimes Russian philosophy almost, where they try to do some philosophy on what the fuck they are doing. So it's really one of the things I must say is it's really bizarre to switch context from two situations completely completely different, and I don't even know how to explain, because it's like they are completely inside their own bubble, as if the rest of the world wasn't seeing all their public content that they are putting on Telegram. And I don't know, it's really weird. Like, to me, when I'm writing on Twitter, I know that my post is public and that anyone possibly in the world can see it, right? So I don't know. I know it's going to, adapt my behavior, do something. I don't know. These people don't seem to have any kind of filter, anything anymore. It's like they are lashing out, and I see. I've seen it like a few months ago when they decided to suddenly to stop attacking Kiev and then go back to south. You could see all this kind of messaging and narratives maybe a week or 2 weeks before. It was very clear that they were changing, let's say, their supposedly special operation. And it was coming out on Telegram, and then maybe 1 or 2 weeks later, it was on Russian media, and then it was all over the place. And so I'm constantly seeing those kinds of things. Sometimes I don't even have time to dedicate to each of the weird things I see the time to investigate and do the work, because I'm building the tool, let's say. But I've noticed a lot of different things, like, for example, Russian disinformation spreading to different languages, and then from different languages spread to different platforms. So this is something I wasn't aware, especially just before the war. I didn't have this understanding that not just platforms are enablers of all of this, but also the communities of language. So, for example, if you take India, which is a huge English-speaking population, it's an amazing bridge connector to the English-speaking world. So even if Russian accounts are being banned here or in Western, let's say, providers, whatever, they can still run link farms in English for the Indian public, and then this is going to be shared on, as alternative viewpoints, whatever, on Indian social media, and then it's going to be translated, and then it's going to reach, in the end, several Western information spaces. And you can also see this with Spanish, for example. You can see that Spanish from Spain is a language connected to South America and to a huge part of Spanish, speaking sphere. And I think I've noticed that the platforms are playing a structural role here, because they interconnect those different languages together, and they basically articulate all of this to happen. So I don't know what to do with this. This is just something that I've noticed, I'm concerned about, because it gives me an explanation, and maybe it's a bias, but it gives me an explanation on how information is spreading to different societies, to different languages, and how we can find the same narratives being spread by the US far right, the French far right, and the Russian far right. And all of this is in some way connected, and the platforms are key into making this possible. So I don't have a solution, but I think it's interesting, and it should worry us, because those platforms are, in my view, in some way articulating the degeneration, in my view, of the information space.
Awesome. So we're nearing the end of the presentation. We're going to open it up for a question and answer. If you'd like to talk on the microphone and ask one of us a question, just type in the chat, say you want to open up the mic. I actually had to mute some people that are currently in the Discord. Their mics were open, and it was creating some feedback. So if you'd like to ask any questions, I encourage you to type them out. I also encourage you to jump on the microphone and ask whatever you like. But before then, I'm actually going to share my screen, Ben, and congratulate Slow T on geolocating one of the images found on OSINTukraine.com. So let me go ahead.
There is also a bunch of questions in the chat. Maybe I could go with them.
Yep, go ahead.
Like from Sisyphus. Do you care about message of the conflict from other language? Strictly collect Russian content. So I'm collecting Russian and Ukrainian channels. For now, I'm not collecting other languages, because what I've noticed is that most of these other languages that are also sharing about the war, they are more generalist channels from other parts, and then I don't want to start aggregating off-topic content. And for now, I don't have a filtering capability at the beginning of the process to say, okay, let's aggregate this Arabic channel, but I just want the post about Ukraine or Russia. So because I don't know yet how to do this, then I cannot focus on other language. What I could do is translate this content to Arabic. That would be possible. But the cost of translations are just crazy just for English. So I'm keeping it simple. But yes, technically we could, even this tool could be used for other conflicts, and could definitely be used for, Syrian conflict or Palestine or, whatever conflicts that are happening, and that we need to have a stream of translations coming from live chat, for example. The goal of all of this in the end, I hope to put back to the community everything, the workflows, the code we use, the entire recipe. I want it to be accessible so that other people can deploy this, and benefit from this whole crazy adventure for other situations in the world that need this kind of easy access to content.
Great. There was another question in the chat that said, how do we crowdfund to keep this project running for as long as needed?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yep. It was asked, how do we crowdfund to keep this project from running as long as needed? How does somebody fund this project? How can we donate? Or how can they get the word out?
So when this started, it was costing me 11 euro per month for the server. And we had, maybe 1 or 2 INO readers that was paid on personal funds. And then it started to grow to 4, then to 6, and now there is new ones opening. And basically each new aggregation is 30 Telegram channels and costs 96 euro per year. So the reason I'm using this is because if I try to scrap that much content from Telegram API with phone numbers and my direct access to the API, I'm gonna burn my account, and I'm never going to be able to collect that much amount of data, never. So the way to have this for me was to pay in some way a premium access to the Telegram API, so that I can just relax, aggregate everything, and then build the tools down the pipeline to filter and to do something more with it. So I launched maybe just a few days ago, actually. I launched my Ko-fi page, where basically there is an explanation of different tiers that you can participate if you want, and then there are the essential basic costs. The basic cost of running the server and the entire aggregation is 120 euro per month. And then we have new costs because we are aggregating hundreds of gigabytes of videos and pictures per day. And it's growing and it's growing. So now we are at 10 terabytes. And and so if you want to contribute, for example, with 5 terabytes of storage or 10, it's 12 and 23 euro per month. So we're looking for people that might be comfortable doing recurring donations so that we can expand, let's say, on the storage space, on the server space, and on the aggregation space. And so for all of those, there is costs involved. And at first it was possible to do it with friends and some really nice close supporters, but now it's becoming quite big. So we are trying to open this to everyone.
Another question comes in is, how do we get journalists and media's people's eyes on it? Really, that's everybody in this chat. Forward it to everybody you know. Message them saying, hey, let's get involved. Let's figure out how we can sustain this project. Let's get this in front of as many eyes as possible and really get this project moving.
Well, it's a great question because I'm watching a lot of how the media are covering the war, and I don't know about you, but I'm increasingly not happy. I think the collective knowledge that you can find in Twitter Spaces and Discord Spaces, the collective curation that everyone is doing, and this on every side. So it can be geolocation, it can be hunting for disinformation. All the parts that people are giving their time and energy. It's an amazing brain, that is selecting the best bits and then putting them in a collective space so that people can act on them. So this quality, the gap between what the media are saying, you can take any of the big channels or national ones, whatever, it doesn't matter much. There is, in my view, there is a gigantic gap between the quality that we can have, with all those people contributing their expertise on Twitter Space, and mix all of this. It's an amazing wealth of knowledge. And when you compare this to the misery of what the mainstream media are doing, to me it's really frustrating. So I think there is something to be done regarding reaching out to journalists so that they have access to this translated content. It was one of my motivation. It was I want to give no excuses for people to get tired about this, because there is too much pain and friction to have access to the content. So this is why I wanted to put it outside of Telegram, and then I wanted to have the translation right away. Even if today I realized, with Chrome browser you could have native translation right in the browser, and it would have worked. Right, but I wanted to provide something already finished so that people, no excuse to not, get in touch with what's happening. Which, in my view, I'm 42. This is the biggest event that is impacting Europe and the Western world certainly, but also the world in many different ways. And I think it's going to have an impact for decades to come. So I think the media, in my view, are not doing the necessary work to cover this properly. And so if you have contacts, if you know journalists, you know media people, I think what they need to know is there is a bunch of tools, there is a community on Discord, there is lots of quality being done here, but society is not reflecting this quality and this expertise back in front of massive audiences. And that's really frustrating. I hope the situation is going to change, but I don't have much hope, because this is the 6th month and it's going down, or it's going, I don't know. I'm going to complain about French TVs, and because it's frustrating. It's really frustrating that all this information is there on Twitter for everyone to see. There is people doing the fact checking, the debunking, the geolocation. They just have to wait, and then they can come at the end of the day, and come with a finished product that they can show in front of worldwide audience and credit whoever did the work on Twitter or the platforms. And this is not happening. It's like there is two worlds. The world where we are covering this and we are hunting this information and we are reporting hate and we are doing a lot of stuff. And then there is this legacy media trying to present this in the fray and trying to adapt. I don't know. I'm angry. So yeah, if you know journalists, I don't know, tell them about this and invite them to dig into this, and maybe they can write stories, and maybe they can bring a OSINT debunked facts from Twitter to mass media. That would be an amazing thing for a change.
Great. Now, looking on my screen, we're going to talk about his geolocation. So I have 3 images pulled up. One is my awful squiggly lines here that the OSINT geolocation community love to do. The other one is a screenshot of the cell phone within the video. So this is a great example. We'll go ahead and full screen this video real quick. Well, I guess I won't full screen, but This was located in the video, and they showed a GPS image on their cell phone of the area. So originally, this is a location that I saw to geolocate. And if you're looking at just this image, it would be really hard to pick out landmarks to determine where this is located. But very smart idea is you keep on looking in the video, and he actually showed the GPS image, and that was very, I wouldn't say easy to compare, but it gave a lot more footprints and pivot points to try to locate the image. And this location, as we saw, was located in this area. For example, these squiggly lines, blue squiggly lines here, are landmarks that are easily identifiable that you can compare between both. So you have like a patch of land here, the way the land, the green meets the dead grass there, as well as a curve of the road, as you can see, and then the main road here, and then that's what was determined to be the location that video was taken. So really great work, awesome work.
And fast.
And very fast, yes. And that's the power of the community, you know. That's what we need. We need people to get involved in this project and enrich the data, to turn the data into usable intelligence. And this was a perfect example of how everyone could do that. Good job, Slow T. After this, shoot me a message and we'll get you that free paid membership. Really great work. And so we have we'll do about 5 more minutes left of Q&As, and then we'll wrap up this presentation. We've been going about an hour now. So if you have any last burning questions, we could do a lightning round.
And maybe I can just also reply from the chat. There was someone from cyber threats and stuff like this. Well, come talk to me because my server is constantly under attack. And there is also someone here from CrowdSec, which I want to Klaus, which I want to thank for coming, because Klaus they are creating an open source security tool called CrowdSec, and OSINT is using it, and it's blocking a lot of crazy attacks and scanning and probing and thousands and thousands of attacks that have been stopped by CrowdSec in the last 5 months. And since last month we are behind Cloudflare on top because I'm still having, this problem. I'm gonna have to talk to Klaus after because I have some news. It's really an amazing security tool that people should have a look. It's really cool. And there was what? Yeah, Lambda sysadmin. Well, I think come talk to me. I'm gonna be in Paris for 2 weeks, and I think I need someone able to look at the server and make sure that everything is running while I'm gone. So yeah, get in touch.
Great, awesome community that we have here. Lots that we could do with each other, for each other, and a collaborative effort. And I'd like to thank you, BenB, for jumping on this call. It's been a really great conversation. I learned a lot today, and I hope everyone in the chat learned as well, and what the community has to offer. And I want everybody to get involved. I encourage everyone to do your part and contact BenB. Do you have any last words, Ben?
Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for the support on the chat. It's really amazing, and thanks for everyone giving a hand on Twitter and supporting and giving encouragement. And all of this has been really great on the last 6 months to keep heading this into some direction and hopefully reach to a version 2 not too far away from now. Thank you, everyone.